Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Fernando Amico, the founder of the and executive director of the NoFest and the Capital Film Market. We're actually in our 4th season of doing this, 2nd season virtually. And we are joined by 4 wonderful people, sales agents, coast to coast, LA to New York. And today's general topic will be film financing, or at least what happens in the forefront, opposed to you having a completed film in the can and ready to show and shop out to the world. We're going to talk about again, the front end of this, where anything from very in general terms, how to finance your film, where you are at the very beginning. Do you have anything from, the entire random myriad of letters, anything from letters of intent? Do you need finishing funds? Again, this would be how to approach these wonderful people at the forefront, which, well-known secret you should have done at the very beginning before you even started. I'll be extreme, even writing the script, develop those relationships early. So we're going to start there, and as we always do, we'll keep it organic in the sense if it starts going off on a tangent that's still relevant and important for all of you, we're absolutely going to go with it, but we're going to try and keep in line with our general theme. So with that, I'm just going to go by what I can see on my screen, left to right, top to bottom. Can you please introduce yourselves? I'll call you out. And the first person I see here is
Hey guys, Marc Clebanoff. My company is Odyssey Pictures, based in Los Angeles. I've been a production company since 2004, produced, a couple of dozen feature films, a couple of TV series. And we've been an international sales agent since 2011. We annually have a presence at anywhere from 3 to 5 markets a year.
Fantastic. Maria.
Yeah, I'm Maria Collis. I'm the partner at Leomark Studios. We are similar to Marc's company. We're also based in LA. We also go to the markets. We've been producing since 2007, and we went into sales in 2011. And we've been doing, mostly in the last few years, we've been doing a lot of distribution via VOD, TV and cable and so on, and the streaming giants rather than so much theatrical. And we also we produced a few things on our own, and we've co-produced some projects, and we're working on some projects.
Fantastic. Mr.
Yes,
Tom.
hi, Tom Malloy. I have my production company is called Trick Candle Productions. I've produced 16 films. My 17th starts May 12th, which is actually the first film I'm directing. And so I'm excited about that. A new venture I've never directed before, but, and as far as the sales and distribution, I started Glass House Distribution in 2015. And now it's grown. And we had the same deal, like 2020 before the COVID, we had 8 markets that we were physically going to, but now it's like about the same, but we ain't going anywhere. And so there's that. And now I'm in New York, based in New York, but the rest, there's one other guy here in New York, and then the rest are in LA. So, yeah.
Fantastic. Congratulations on the directing. That surprised me a little bit as far
I never wanted to try.
Pretty diversified
recently, so
in the
it's
world.
just like the timing, as everybody on here knows, with a lot of movies, it's just timing and certain things lining up and the financing, and it just kind of worked, and there it is. So yeah, it'll be interesting. Thank you.
Well, break a leg, man. Phil,
Tom, are you in the movie?
We'll see about that. Because years ago, he knows I was an actor for years and did stuff. So we'll see if I jump in or not. Most likely, yes. Well, I'll tell you, the asterisk, not to go into a thing, is that I used to teach ballroom dancing, and it's a dance film, romantic comedy. So it does make sense. Plus, I did Love and Dancing. I starred with Amy Smart and Betty White. So it is not my intention to really be I'm more in the producer side now, but this one is very tough not to, because it's tough to find male actors that can dance.
Well, I'll tell you, it's tough to Tough to,
I'm in,
even
man.
have a
I
tiny
am
role,
in.
even like a Hitchcock role, and direct. It's like so distracting that. But good luck, brother.
Thank you, man. I will pull it off.
Yeah. All right. Good. Phil Gorn with Wonderphil Entertainment. Similar to these companies, I think we're all sales companies primarily, and I guess we're all producing as well. So I'm producing more low budget stuff usually, and just cranking them out one or two a year, and getting the sales from those, and sometimes using that to create the next projects, and shooting whenever time allows. And the rest of the year we're just focused on the markets, and these stay-at-home markets do take up a lot of time. Actually, you can spend a lot of days on these markets. You don't have to travel. You don't have to, stay in a hotel and fight the internet, or sit around the booth and wait for your next meeting. But it takes up, this definitely is time consuming, and there's always the next market. So just like there's always the next film festival.
Awesome.
There's so many festivals to choose from.
Well, shameless plug. We will be producing within the next 2 years. We'll be producing 10 more. So that's going to be fun times. So thank you very much, all of you. As mentioned, we are going to open this up with film finance, financing, whichever. One of our major missions, what we really try our best to do, is both educate in terms of it'll be a review for the veterans, brand new for the neophytes, and at the same time, so some of the stuff will be just blueprint, will be universal for in perpetuity. Put our finger to the wind. You guys are in the trenches. You can tell us what's going on. So with that in mind, again, just you're sharing your wealth of knowledge here in terms of when we say film finance, they're the basics. But obviously, with the world the way it is right now, would like to know how that, if at all, has affected the process and protocol for anything, the nitty gritty of just actual commerce going back and forth, or even the conversations that are going on. If there's any, we mentioned yesterday if there were any seismic shifts in that foundation. So I'll leave that kind of open ended. If you have any comments on, let's start with what's going on right now. Has the pandemic affected how you are either being approached, how you approach for your own projects, in general, how to approach projects on the front end in terms of film financing? Anybody can start.
What was the question exactly? What is?
I know, I was long-winded.
What has changed?
Basically, has the pandemic affected the dynamics of film financing?
I see.
I wouldn't say
no,
it's made it easier
but is there
or
anything
harder.
specific?
Yeah.
What's harder now is to actually go out and shoot something. And there's additional costs now added into the whole process, which has to be taken into account when figuring out your budget. So I think it's harder for the producer. I don't think it's made a huge difference one way or another from the investing standpoint.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much, I'll agree. It's pretty much the same. It's just, new things that you have to factor in, like a COVID compliance officer and on-site testing that you never had to do before. And even that, I was on the phone with somebody this morning about extras, and it's like, that's a pain in the ass now. Like extras are, it used to be like, hey, put an ad in Craigslist to get, 300 people to come to your set or whatever, that was easier. And now it's like, all right, how do we deal with this with COVID? So it's just a new set of challenges. But I agree with Mark said, on the other front, as far as getting the financing or monetizing it, I feel like it's relatively the same. So
it is now. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
No, please.
It's pretty much the way. It's pretty much normal now. But boy, a year ago, and in 6 months ago, people didn't want to invest in anything because they didn't know. They didn't know they didn't know if they were going to be able, if we were going to be able to go into production. So we found that as an obstacle for financing, that just the uncertainty of it. In one way, it was good because we could focus on budgets that were meant for major streaming platforms. I mean, it's actually been good in that way. It's like we don't have to worry about a theatrical release. We aim for the streamers, the larger platforms like TV and so on. So to that extent, it's been actually good. But in terms of, people were very, very cagey about in making any kind of commitments up until a few months ago, I would say. I think it's opened up again now, but it was, people's like, no, nothing's happening. Oh no. And talking to major streamers like HBO, for example, as recently as 6 months ago, they were saying things like, oh no, we're not taking on any new projects right now, because we're so backlogged in filling our linear programming, our HBO, the main channel, because now they have HBO Max, which is video on demand. And that was where we were aiming a project. And they were going, yeah, we can't even think about that right now because we have so much to do just to fill our regular schedule. So, but it's opening up now.
Distributors were being like that too when in kind of the height of COVID last year. If you think about it, distributors are investors on the back end of a film. So, during COVID, I had producers calling me saying, well, shouldn't it be easier to get movies sold right now because everybody's sitting home? It's like, well, actually, no, distributors are really apprehensive about parting with cash because they don't know what's going to happen in the next 6 months.
Especially post Berlin last year. Berlin 2020 was the worst market we've ever had because it was like literally, I'm not sure. And I'll just be honest, I'm not sure if we got one sale like after the ones that we got were there, but like afterwards, people were like, what's going on? The whole world was like, what's going on? So like any buyer we reached out to was like, dude, we're not doing anything right now.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I mean, I was around in the 2008. I mean, I had just started my company like 2 years before that. And if I would have started 1 year before that, there's no way I would have survived 2008's crash. And I, managed through 2008, 2009. And this was kind of similar and kind of the, I mentioned it yesterday. I called it like then and now, like, and last year, like Tom's saying, like after Berlin, and almost till the rest of the year. Actually, the last quarter luckily made up for some of it. But I just called it the deer in the headlights syndrome, and I'd continually have conversations with the buyers, just saying everybody's home watching movies. I mean, I'm not talking about the investors to invest in movies and film financing. I'm talking about distributors who can just put a film on a platform, and so. Like, why aren't you buying in this time where everybody's watching? And all my producers are like, how come you're not selling, man? Like everybody's home watching. That's all I'm doing all day is, watching. And just couldn't get the buyers to bite. Yeah.
But I think also, I mean, think about it too. I mean, in a way, it's been great for distribution. So I don't want to hijack the conversation to distribution, but it does circle back around to financing, right?
Go for it.
Because now you've got Disney Plus, Peacock, I don't have to list them all, but now we have these major studios who are now, they've got their own streaming platforms and they've got a big library of content. And as a distributor, you're saying, well, yeah, there's a huge demand for content. I mean, from a distribution standpoint, we've had, if anything, an increased demand for content and platforms popping up all over the place. But they can't put money up front. We don't, we don't trust them if they're brand new to take care of our producers, IP, right, and finished films, and we're saying, okay, the only thing you can count on right now is it's an ultra low budget film, because that's the only kind of income that is steady. Because again, if you're going to try to compete with Disney Plus, if you're going to try to compete with all these other big guys, Apple Plus, you know the list, you can't unless you've got a major budget film with major names in it. And that middle ground that was small theatrical and that kind of thing, like your $2 to $5 million range. Right now, I don't tell me how you guys are feeling, but I'm kind of feeling like it's emptied out. If you can't get, it's perfect again for one of the streamers, but if you can't get an interest from a streamer, you do not want to be putting that amount of money in, because it's just too risky.
Can I give a little diatribe, kind of specific to financing? I mean, let me put it this way. First of all, I hope everybody revisits the distribution panel from yesterday, because you got to look at financing as you're basically soliciting an investor to finance a business. You have to think of it like a business. And if you don't know and understand and are able to articulate how the business functions, then you have no business going out and asking for money to begin with. So everybody needs to, and that's why distribution will always come back into the conversation, is people need to understand the realities of distribution before they go out and ask somebody to write a very large check to finance their project. Because if you're not approaching it with a business mindset, then you're basically asking somebody to finance a dream. And yeah, maybe there's people out there willing to do that, but I've met a lot of investors and I've raised millions of dollars over the course of my career. None of them were interested solely based on financing my dream, except my mother, who put money into my first film.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the thing. You have to see the path towards the return on the investment.
Yeah, you have to educate yourself about how the business works, about how movies actually fit into the marketplace and how they generate revenues. Because
Marc,
I think Tom said yesterday.
Can I get your mom's contact information? If she's
sure. Sure. Yeah. Funny, Fernando asked me the same thing, but I don't think it was to pitch her as an investor.
Man,
my mother just got remarried a couple months ago. So anyway,
happily.
Well, it's only been 2 months.
Like Tom said yesterday. Like if your business plan is I'm going to Sundance and selling my film, then you are misfiring from square one. So again, from a financing perspective, you need to learn as much as you can about distribution, go to markets, talk to guys like Phil and Tom and myself and Maria and her husband, and understand how your movie and your project fits into the market so that you can then go have an actual articulate and viable conversation with an investor.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Exactly what we're looking for. I'm gonna just throw this out there, and then we'll absolutely move on, because it seems like everyone in general just basically phased right over. Has the pandemic affect any of the process again, and again protocol of what's already been established in terms of the chaos and trying to get financing, or just understanding, unraveling that mystery. So I'm just gonna, or we'll just move on from that into like direct, again, forefront financing. And everything that goes with it, because I'm going to consider that a good thing, or we'll consider that a good thing, that the pandemic hasn't, at least now, 12 plus months removed, what didn't seem like it was a giant factor, but it's definitely less so now. With that, it's almost a nonsense question here, but going forward, do you see the pandemic affecting anything financing wise at all? And it could be simple, no, and we'll move on.
I think if anything,
but is that a general idea?
People are more open to alternative investments because traditional markets and especially our economy are not as reliable as they have been in the recent past. So that's my opinion.
I mean, you read the paper today and you're wondering, like, is the pandemic going anywhere? I mean, look at what's going on in Brazil and India and here. And so, yeah, everybody's getting used to it. I talked about yesterday, I thought, MIP TV, stepped up their platform that, next year or MIPCOM will be even better, but, still has issues. But compared to last year when they first started, just, a bit of a train wreck. So, it's everybody's getting used to it. The buyers are waking up, and you have, I guess you have two choices: either get used to it or fold.
People are definitely diversifying differently. I mean, not to go back to this, but like, look at crypto. That's why people are, a year, 2 years ago, like you bring that up and people would roll their eyes. Now every financial institution and Fortune 500 company on the planet are diversifying into it, and not to put movies anywhere near that by comparison. But my point being is, I think people are becoming more open-minded about non-traditional investing.
Yeah. And to clarify, that not explaining what you mean there, Mark, but meaning this is what I take from that is that, crypto is a great source of money and investment and financing. You know what I mean? Because we're putting money but I'll put that asterisk there, that the people that you've all had, those people at Cannes that came and pitched you on blockchain technology for films. And I roll my eyes at a lot of stuff, and it's like, I'm not interested, man. I mean, I'm just like, and maybe I'm missing the wave, but it's just like that. I don't see that link yet. But I do see the link with financing. Hell yeah. That's obviously, that's where the almost the poker players of the financing world are now, but it's going to become the norm. So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I guess what I'm prodding at is, who knows what's going to happen. As you mentioned, Maria, there's still, even on my end, organizing these events, there's just tremendous amount of uncertainty to just, keeping your eye on the bottom line to make sure things are successful and you achieve what you want. It was more so, in alluding to you, Phil, where it's lack of a better term, things are normalizing. And I hate using the word new normal, or the phrase new normal, but the impact, again, as of 13 months ago, I'm going to go out on a limb and say I don't presume there's going to be that kind of nuclear bomb like it was 13 months ago or whatever. It's more of, as you guys have, as you all have been mentioning, it's more transformational in terms of, okay, this is the hand we have right now. This is the hand we're dealt. Let's see what we can do with it. But it's not like all of a sudden the table is going to blow up. All of a sudden, now we can play a little bit.
I'll tell you something. What I've observed is, I think it's really interesting that a few years ago we were approached. I don't know, probably 6 or 7 years ago by a colleague who wanted to do an online market. And we thought, yeah, that's a great idea, but nobody's doing stuff online, right? Now I think, absolutely. And wow. I'm trying to remember, we had one.
Not me.
Sorry.
We had one market. One of the first markets that went online was an absolute disaster, and then they got better. They started to get better, and I think that people who are comfortable in the Zoom environment, people who can, present themselves well in a forum like this, and can, convey their energy, convey their vision and whatever, I think they're going to make it. And I know definitely, and again, the good thing about this situation is that because we don't have to be in the same city at the same time, and because it's not it used to be being physically present at a market was like an ID badge. It was like, okay, you're a real filmmaker. You paid for the badge. You came to the market, right? We'll give you our 15 minutes because you took that step. And now I feel like, that barrier is not there anymore. I've talked to filmmakers on the other side of the world now who have a project, and I couldn't care less that they didn't fly to be in the same city that I'm in. I'm glad they're using their money wisely. And so that's that I think is that has changed a lot. The business, the connecting, the networking happening online is grown. It's become more important. And I think if you want to meet people and get your projects seen, be present, quote unquote, at as many of these events as you can be, and ask questions and reach out personally to folks so that you can make that connection.
Okay. Thank you. Fantastic. We're going to take not necessarily a step back, but let's get our fingernails dirty and get into the trenches here. And this is I'm trying to be a voice for the filmmakers, more on the new side opposed to the veterans. And again, I alluded to this earlier. How this can be very general and broad. How best can we approach you? What do we need to be? What do we need to bring to the table to look slick, prepared, and letting you know that we are serious and a viable candidate to be in your catalog? I'll be representative real quick. What do we need to bring to you to really wow you and take us seriously from the jump?
A completed film.
Right, we're not allowed to say that now.
Fernando,
We're
you
talking
mentioned
time.
come at me with how to finance. It's like, that's not me. I'm not the one financing. I'm not the one doing the finishing funds. I'm not the one advising about what you should do with legally or whatever. That's I'm a sales company. I'm not. That's first and foremost. If I'm producing something with somebody, honestly, it's not going to be someone who I've never met. It's like I've never done that in my life, and I don't think I ever will. It's like I'm producing with people who I've worked with before. I've sold their first film. I've sold maybe their second film. We figured out how to make their third one, their fourth one, their fifth one. We just keep doing it like that. I've never said, "Oh yeah," somebody's walked in my office at AFM, and I'm like, "Oh, that sounds really good, man. Let's do it." It's just not going to happen. And to talk about and
I'll say that.
Yeah.
Can we turn that?
Oh,
sorry, go ahead.
No,
I was going to say.
You go, Maria. Go.
Let's turn it back around on you, Phil. As a producer, then, how have you gotten people interested in those projects that you've done? Since you're not a financer.
Well, yeah, actually, so I'm probably a little different than everybody else here in that I really, personally, I haven't gone to HBO Max. I haven't gone to the investors asking for millions of dollars. I've just kind of financed or co-financed, or we make sales and we take the money from the sales and we put some of that and we put some of our own in. And so I'm just working with, myself and who I get along with really well, and artistic decisions. It's all like we're all on the same page. It's cool. And then a producer who if he's the director, and or whoever it is, and so that's how I've done it. I haven't, and we just keep flipping movies, and I haven't done the big movie. I've never even thought about theatrical. It's just not what, it's just like, it doesn't even occur to me that the film we're shooting is going to be in the theaters. It's like, I wish it was, I wish I wish I did have the HBO Max knocking on my door, but I just haven't knocked on their door, asking them, for money or anybody, and even dealing with SAG or it's like, that's not me either. Actually, it's somebody else on the production team. I don't talk to SAG. Somebody else deals with it. I don't deal with it. Yeah, I like them.
You like SAG?
I don't mean them negative.
Well,
That sounded really harsh.
If somebody comes into the office suite at AFM, and I've never met them before, but they have value. Value meaning it's not just like, we got this cool idea for a movie. It's like ideas are a dime a doesn't. You know what I mean? It's like it's the value, meaning they have half the. If they come in, they say it's a $500,000. No, it's $1 million movie. We got 500,000, or even if it's 500, we got 250. That's one. Or this is a $500,000 movie, and we got whatever actor that is. We got, what did I say yesterday? Jack Black. We got Jack Black. Immediately, I'm like, let's talk. You know what I mean? Like, that's the ones that I will bite on because, so I just say, bring a film with value, whatever that value is. And it can't be BS value, you know, like, well, there's fighter jets in the movie and my buddy has a fighter jet. Like that doesn't really do anything ultimately. But I mean, for example, a film came to me and I think I mentioned it yesterday that was, I guess I can go into semi-specifics, but it was $1 million budget. And they had that guy, it was Cam Gigande, who was, and I said, no, it's not big enough. And then they came back with KJ Appa as well, who was Archie on the Riverdale show. I went to Voltage Pictures, you all know, and they gave me a commitment for half the budget in 24 hours. So it was like, that's how quick that value moves the needle, you know, boom, like that. It was just like, they came back, the script was good. They got those 2 attachments, good. We're committed 500,000, boom, out of that $1 million, you know? So it's like, that's how quick something happens if you have value. So that's all I can say is walk in with value and not like, you know.
And I have to just say one other thing, you know, like, I hear you, Tom, and that's, I mean, I will consider stuff and I will like go out of my comfort zone, but so much of the time, and it really kind of maybe puts me off towards other producers when producers come in and they say they have, you know, half the budget. And then when you start questioning them, they don't actually have anything. And they're like, well, we could make it, if we got 500,000, we can make it look like $1 million. I'm like, I've had that conversation so many times.
100%.
So is everybody here.
And they're factoring the tax credit and stuff like that. Like, you know, oh, it's 35 euros.
It's like Shark Tank. How many of those deals do you think fall apart in actual due diligence? You know what I mean? People come in and they tell you what they think they want to hear. So I'll tell you right now, I'm actually backed by an investor who, and I'm the gatekeeper to his money. He's not a typical equity investor. He just does finishing funds, bridge loans, gap funding. He'll cash flow, tax credits, and pre-sale contracts, things like that. So it's not it's not like a straight arrow to a green light. But we get a lot of proposals from a lot of different producers, and 99 out of 100 of them that come across the desk are total pie in the sky nonsense. So for me, what do I want someone to approach with? I want someone to actually show that they did their due diligence, that they did their homework, that they're actually presenting something viable, that they're not just like referencing the anomalies, and that they actually have a finance and distribution plan. And also I want to know that their budget didn't just come out of thin air. I mean, I get people that walk in, they're like, oh, it's a $2 million movie. Like, well, where did that number come from? Did you actually break it down? Like, did you actually hire a line producer and break down the script? Why is it a $2 million movie, not $1 million movie? Like, what is driving the numbers? And more often than not, especially in the independent world, people don't really have a reasonable answer to that question. So when I have somebody approach me with something before they've actually produced something, I want them to show me that they didn't just like randomly pick my name out of wherever and are just, for lack of a better term, spraying and praying. You know what I mean? Like, show me that you actually, like, send me a personal email, show me that you convince me you've actually looked into who I am, so that you're not pitching me something that's totally outside of my normal thing, and show me that you've actually done your homework on the business side of it. Yeah. And then when it comes to a finished film, that's a whole different approach. You know, if somebody has a finished film, send me a personal email, send me your trailer, send me some kind of visual or key art. Don't send me your whole movie and say, here's my whole movie. Because I'm probably, unless there's like Ray Liotta in it or somebody with significant value, I'm not just going to sit down and commit to spending 2 hours watching your movie. Like, send me something that's going to make me want to watch your movie.
I just want to say, I know Maria
you want to real quick, Tom, because you're saying the same
something to that. That's fine. It doesn't matter. Yeah.
Well, go, Tom, because I forgot what I was going to say.
We've all got the emails where it's a really funny. We all get the emails, I'm sure, where it'll say something like, "We're a big fan of," and then in a different font, it'll say Glass House Distribution or Leomark Studios or Wonderphil. And it's just like, you just literally did a form letter and you're not a big fan. Like, you literally put our company in and you're doing each one at a time. So anyway, that's all.
I have to tell you, I don't care about that stuff really. And I think, and we're kind of, I mean, we're sluts. I mean, every single relationship we've had, I think, has begun with a cold contact. I mean, we have some wonderful, wonderful friends, and we haven't done a single project with any of them yet. I mean, we have friends who are, it's tricky with friends, right? But you do need to trust the person. And I think that something that we come across all the time when we're looking for our own financing, and also when I'm looking at somebody puts a package in front of me, is first-time producer, first-time director, writer-director. These are flags. Okay, there's nothing wrong with any of these things, but you can't have all of them. You cannot have a first-time writer, a first-time director, and a first-time producer. And if they're all the same person, then you're really in trouble. You need, if you are a first-time director, you need an experienced producer, somebody that's got films under their belt that have been made, successfully distributed, etc. If you are a first-time director, and especially if it's your own script, I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but this to me is often the biggest obstacle, because a lot of people think they can do that job, and most people can't. It's because it's two jobs, and it's very, very, it's the auteur. It's very difficult. So when somebody comes into me with we got a $5 million picture, and I've made a few shorts, and my producer is new to the business, but she's really gung-ho. And I'm like, okay, so so does Uncle Carl have $500,000 to put in this movie for you? Because I'm not coming near it.
Yeah, I've actually had people come to me, like, haven't produced anything, directed anything. They're brand new, and they're like, oh, I'm going to do this $5 million movie. And, I've actually had people like almost like snub their nose at me because I've only made like $1 million movies or $500,000 movies. Like it's below them. I'm like, you don't understand the challenge that's facing you.
Yep. Yeah, it's great.
You're going to have to find the dumbest money in the world to give you this money.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's kind of why I'm always shooting. Cause I mean, I'm always trying to shoot at least a film a year, and that's kind of, I think what I said yesterday too. It's like, okay, we'll wait for I'm all for trying to get the $1 million, however much, whatever the budget is. But in the meantime, I like just shooting something whenever I have a couple of weeks.
Yeah, but that's actually, that's a really great attitude. Keep working, right? And also take jobs on other people's projects. Meet people. Yeah. Some of the best people that we've met on the worst projects.
Yeah. Well, no,
I agree with that.
Yeah, I'm taking, like, in September, I'm doing a film, I'm producing a film, and I'm just hired gun. I'm just coming in to produce it, and I love those jobs. I'm not a member of the LLC, which I don't want to be. You know what I mean? It's like, here's the amount I'm getting paid, here's my back end. Boom, just come in, do the job, get out. I love that stuff. You know what I mean? I'm sure all you guys have seen the nods. Yeah, everybody. It's like those kind of things. If you can get them, that's great. And for those films, it's value to have people like us attached.
Absolutely, and that's a good suggestion. Say for this first-time filmmaker, right?
Partnering. Yeah.
Partner. Yes, exactly. Partner with somebody like you, and that gives you gravitas when you do that. Because I can't emphasize enough, the biggest problem I see is that somebody comes to me, and something, I'm probably not even going to read the script unless if it's a great concept, I'll probably read the script anyway. But I'm not going to consider this project if they're insisting they need to, they have their writer, they have their director, they have their producer. They're not going to bring in another producer. And okay, then it's not for me. You've got to be willing to share.
I'm going to ask.
that credit at the very least. It's surprising to me how few filmmakers, particularly first-time filmmakers, and I think it's because they've heard all these horror stories about having your project taken from you, are afraid to bring in another producer with more experience to help them get to green light.
Well,
I would say that was the hardest movie almost the only movie I've ever had a really hard time directing was the movie I was hired to direct, and hired by the producer writer, and a bit of control freak producer writer, and I had to direct, and the lack of control on set as a director I'd never experienced before, but it's a first time, made a couple shorts, thought, probably deep down probably wanted to direct, and it was a nightmare. I mean, it was just a total nightmare. So what Maria, you're saying, like this everybody's a first time, I got a first time director, first time writer, first time, everything is first time. It's like that's
think about it. This is the only business where you can start at the
top.
top. So you got a lot of people coming in who don't have a freaking clue, and then they want to like run the show. But like whether it's somebody just
Hey man, I got a phone.
Just
I got
gearing up to make their project, or it's somebody who's actually put their project in the can. Like I'll walk away from a film that I know I can sell because I don't want to deal with the producer because they have unrealistic expectations, or I know they're going to be a giant pain in the ass to work with. Like to me, it's twofold. Finding that right combination of the right project and people you actually want to be in business with. That's a very challenging thing to find. And I've passed on a lot of good projects, not just as a producer, but as a distributor, because I know that it's not going to be the upside's not going to be worthwhile having to deal with this, person who has tunnel vision and no idea of how things actually work.
And there's a few that we wish we had passed on.
That's right. I got more than a few.
Yeah.
I'll share that list out loud with everybody.
Yeah, I've given films back where I'm like, yeah.
I thought you were going to show your scars, Mark.
I've given films back where I'm like, it's not worth it. Like, guys, you take it, find somewhere else. We're not the right.
Yep.
But, I just want to say on the film note, there's a thing, you all know Dove Simmons from this old book From Real to Deal, but he had this phrase that he used to say, and I've modified.
Oh, yeah.
And the phrase that he used to say was like, how do you make a $10 million film? And the answer is, make a $1 million film that's successful. How do you make $1 million film? You make a $100,000 film that's successful. How do you make $100,000? You make a $10,000 film that's successful. But I say that all you have to, that's true, but I remove if it's successful. It doesn't even have to be, you just have to have the experience. So I always equated it when I do my live speeches to like making a restaurant. Like Mark was saying, if and Maria too, with somebody that has no experience, you're going to hire, say, Mark to build your restaurant. He's never done a restaurant before, but he's got these big dreams of making a restaurant. Yet Maria has done 5 restaurants. Now, maybe they failed, but there might be location, there might be the timing, and each time she's learned and better and how to do it. And each time, 100%, I would hire Maria that has done the restaurants before. So experience matters, whether successful or not. If you tell me this movie hasn't made money, but I watch it and I'm like, it's a great movie. I know that's not just because of you. I know you can deliver a great movie. So you just got to keep making stuff and not starting with your eyes going, well, I mean, we've all gotten pitched a $30 million indie, first time filmmaker, $30 million, 40. And it's like, it's crazy. You're insane at that point.
And I think that's a really good point, Tom. And I don't want to sound discouraging because, I mean, of course, it's a first time for everyone, right? There's always a first time. So I want to get back to the project itself for a minute. I will pay attention if I think, and this also gets back to who do you want to work with? Somebody walks into my office and they are energetic and charming and they have a really interesting idea. Then I want to see that idea. If they have a pitch deck, great, but maybe they're at a much earlier stage in the project and they're doing what somebody, or Fernando suggested that even before you write the script, you want to start making connections, right? So if somebody's got a good story, if somebody's got a good script, I will spend way, way more time with that person, if not actually working on their project, coaching them to help them try to find somebody who will do it for them, recommending casting directors, line producers, and stuff like that, because I think this person has a future. This person is going to go somewhere. And also just that, I mean, why did we all get into movies? Because we love storytelling, we love the medium. And I want to work on projects not only that are fun to work on, but that I believe in, that I think are telling a story that should be told. Or if it's simple genre material, it's a great example of its genre. It doesn't have to be, it can be Scream, a good Scream type movie. It's a total blast. It's fun, right? So if you've got a good idea, the problem is that so many people think they have a good idea and they don't. And talent is the one thing that money cannot get you anywhere.
Yeah.
You can build on your talent with experience, and that's definitely true. You have to do that. Talent by itself isn't enough, right? But boy, if you walk in and with nothing, and tell me, well, I got this idea, I'm going to say, go write that script and come and see me when you've written the script.
Maria, that's a good point, is just having enough self-awareness to know what you don't know and surround yourself with people who do know.
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, let me interject here with a couple of comments. Well, number one, to ride the coattails of both you, Mark, and Maria, where there's a great entrepreneur quote that goes, and I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he's a billionaire, he owns the Atlanta Hawks, whatever, and he started from zero, nothing. People invest in people. They don't invest in business plans. So I think that even covers what you're talking about. Like, do I want to get in business with them? Your earlier comment, Mark, and absolutely what you just said, Maria. Second thing is, I want to bring it back home a little bit, and again, be a representative of the filmmakers. I'm going to ask a lawyer question, meaning not legal, but I already know the answer to the question. We had before, in terms of, and again, this covers what you just mentioned, Maria, and also Mark, where do I find that legitimate line producer who's going to be able to give you that legitimate number on a spreadsheet? Where am I going to get that gravitas to make me look more legitimate in your eyes?
Yeah.
And I
so
kind of already know the question.
I know a lot of people work in micro budget and start their careers with micro budget. I did. I made my first feature for 45 grand. So like I get that world. But you need to be prepared to spend a couple bucks developing, getting the right person to break down your script. You can't expect to like engage a line producer unless you get people who just really believe in you and your project and are willing to do the work. But I get asked that because I've done a lot of line producing too. I get asked all the time. People are like, they want me to do a breakdown. I'm like, you don't understand what you're asking for. It's a lot of work. That doesn't. There's an inherent cost involved in doing that. If I'm committed to something long term, I'll do that work. But you got to be prepared to throw down a couple of dollars to do the right work up front so you can set yourself up for success.
Okay. I mean, I was hoping you'd catch on. You didn't fully take the bait, but that's still gold. What you just said. The bait was because the comment you had made the panel yesterday was get to know you. And when I say you, I mean all four of you and people in the distribution world that you can trust. And again, like you said, do your due diligence, do your homework, find out who you're talking to, and say, well, because Tom, a line producer.
Well, yes,
Maria,
yes,
a script supervisor.
Yes
something
but
that'll give you more legitimacy.
People like us are always going to be available. If somebody here reaches out to us, sends us an email and says, "Hey, can you give me some guidance?" Like, sure. But what we're going to do initially is poke holes in everything. because I'm not just going to like turn you on to my go-to line producer unless you've already kind of passed a preliminary test.
Right. Absolutely.
So you have to, yes, you can always come to us, but that doesn't mean we're just going to like give you the keys to whatever castle we have. You know, we're going to initially poke holes in everything to make sure that you are taking the right path.
Well, yes. Yeah. I mean, you're going to, right. I mean,
Thank you for
that's what I
clarifying
mean.
that.
It's like you first, as you were saying, Fernando, you invest in people. I got to have a good feeling about this person, that person is intelligent and understands the work that they have to do and has done the work that they should have done before they approach me. And and when they don't have that, I will give them a much more general piece of advice. Yeah. I'll always try to say something encouraging, because I think there's no reason to be an ass. Unless somebody's an ass to you, in which case I'll rule.
Yeah, you need to approach it with the mindset of like you're asking for guidance. Most people approach us hoping that we're going to do all the work for them.
Yeah. Can you finance my movie?
Bingo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Would you come on and produce my movie is usually code for, will you finance my movie? And I tell people right up front when they approach me, it's like, if you want a consulting producer, I'm open to that discussion, but I will not raise money for your movie. I will set you on the right path to make sure you have the best chance to raise money for your movie, but I am not going to, because as soon as I make that commitment, assuming I'm willing to, then I have somebody sitting back, basically like cracking the whip, waiting for me to bring them money.
Yep.
So, and I'm not going to put myself in that position.
Yeah. I mean, you're around. I mean, I'm running a sales company. You know, like I'm trying to squeeze in my own production sometime during the 2 weeks. I'm not. I don't want to say like, yeah, come to me and I'll give you all the advice and I mean, even skipping the connection, but just to. I'm sorry, I don't have that kind of time to just have an hour, 2, 3 hour, multiple day conversation about your project. We don't even have any relationship. I don't even know. Like what, honestly, like what benefit is it to me? Like I give you all the advice and you go out and do it. And then I don't hear from you again. Like not to
say like I won't have a preliminary discussion with somebody, but like serious people who want to sit down and like get my time and like be really honest with them, they'll pay for it.
Yeah. No, I get people reach out to me all the time for consultancy or like line producers, and I have a group that I'll send them to that I may not specifically use, but meaning I maybe have used them in the past. I love giving those guys business, so that's always something that I tell people, if you want to reach out, because those guys, I'll say I don't even know what they charge, or at least I'll have some idea, whatever. But even on the consulting thing, I used to do that a lot, but it's too much time. So even now I have like 3 or 4 consultants that I point to. And I go, you can go to these guys. They pay them just like entertainment attorneys. They're X amount of dollars an hour. You make the deal with them. And it's just,
you can come to me. I'm cheaper than an attorney. But I'm not going to waste your money either. Like if I don't see value in the person or the IP, I'm not going to waste either of our time.
No, totally. I'm happy to farm it out to you too. It's meaning there's some good people, and then of course, as you know, there's some wackos that they have insanities in their pitch, but whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get into like the nitty gritty, the tiny details, in terms of, and I'll throw a couple of bullet points here and there. In so much as, let's say, the Bible, how important is it that they present something tangible, or in this world, if it's a PDF, whatever, with all their pedigree for you to look over? How important? We already covered Maria as far as investing in the people, but how important are the
finished project or for something they're trying to develop?
We're gonna start in the beginning. We'll stay with today's theme as far as in the very beginning. How important is that Bible? Again, it could be anything from letters of intent to
who's involved. It's important. I think it really gives you an idea of especially somebody's level of experience. Proofs of concept you have to be careful with. I get people who will do like a short film as a proof of concept for a feature or whatever, and the proof of concepts are so bad. I'm like, this person has no self-awareness as a filmmaker. So if you're going to do a proof of concept, which is usually done for very little or no money, like make sure it is impressive.
Oh my God.
Like I said, I get these POFs that are just dismal. But whatever, I get trailers for finished films that are dismal, and I'm like, do not watch trailers.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Bob.
No, I'm done. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say that's one of the best pieces of advice you could give. I mean, I've had the experience where somebody comes in and they tell me about this wonderful project, and I'm making this great movie in my head already, right? And then they show me their proof of concept, and I'm like, oh God. Well, so I would say, what you want to do is, I do think like a Bible pitch deck, lookbook, whatever you want to call it, it's a really important tool. When we've gone past the stage of just meeting someone and impressing them with your idea and so on and so forth. Now you want to actually get them interested in your project as a viable thing. And we're talking about all that due diligence that you were saying, Mark. And yes, I want to see a pitch deck of some kind, or even a one sheet. I don't care. But whatever it is, it's got to be visually interesting. Film is a visual medium. If you hand me straight text, I don't get any kind of a sense at all of what kind of a vision you have. And I want something visual, and then I'm in, right? Then you got me in, and you got me for 3 pages, 1 page, 3 page, 15 pages. If I read a 15-page pitch deck and it has all those elements that we've been talking about, right? Where the budget, the sales and distribution plan, the attachments, the pedigree of the creative team, and all of that stuff, I'm going to want to read that script. If I liked the unless it's a porno or something I don't want to make.
Well, you never know, but if
I want to make.
Then bring it to Fernando.
Yeah. If it has attachments.
You guys just waiting for some.
No,
waiting for some comment. Mark's going to say something.
Exactly. Here's the thing: people sometimes don't even take that first step. Like we've all seen the business plans, like Maria said, with just text or something like that, or it's just like a paragraph on a Word document that they'll slide over to me. And it's like, if you're not even taking that step, and hiring and going to Fiverr and finding even a cheap poster designer to make a movie poster, or 99 Designs or one of those sites, then that you're not really, going to the level that you need to be. But funny enough, you brought up the sizzle reel, Mark, or the proof of concept. I do videos for the filmmaking stuff, Fernando, as you know, the filmmaking stuff YouTube channel. And that was on my list, is saying that 95% of sizzle reels I've said have disappointed me and made it so that I remember one time being like almost all in on a project, like, we got to do this. And the director showed me, I did this 5 minute, and I went, there's no way this guy could direct that movie, because you're approaching it from, you don't have the actors that you're going to use when the film is financed. You probably don't have the equipment, and it's just a mistake. So it's always going to be an inferior product. I was going to do a video on why you should probably stay away from sizzle unless you know some kind of amazing visual effects. I saw one time these guys made these robots that were insane. That was the only time I could point to it and say that one worked. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, I mean, so I wouldn't, like 5 minutes or something like that as a proof of concept. How I've been able to do it, and is if a producer, again, it's usually somebody I worked with before, because but maybe I've done this with somebody I haven't worked with, I've sold their film, because they're presenting me with a proposal, and they're giving me a teaser, and the teaser may be 30 seconds, but the teaser is like if it's it might not be the actors yet. It might not. It is a proof of concept, because but it looks good. They have their location. Like, this was a vampire thing in the sewer system. So they actually went inside. They actually had the sewer, and they filmed this. I think it wasn't even a minute, I don't think, and it was but it worked. It was like, the vampires hiding in the dark, and there's the girl in the light, and it showed the filmmaking ability. It showed the editing, it showed the production value, all in less than a minute. And from that, I was showing that at the markets, and buyers were ready.
It's rarely
less is more is a major thing
like,
there. The longer I'm watching, the more chance there is I'm going to be disappointed.
Yeah.
Short,
Yeah,
I'm sorry, that sounds terrible, but actually, what I would suggest, rather than doing a teaser trailer or anything, because what Phil's talking about is the exception that proves the rule. There's always the exception, right? Show me a short film you did.
Yeah.
You know, give me your pitch deck project and show me a short that you did. I know a brilliant young filmmaker who has a really great idea for a feature, and he did this concept trailer. And if I hadn't seen this guy's shorts, which are fantastic, I wouldn't be interested in the project at all. I had to say to him, I said, you know something? Don't use this trailer. Your work is so much better than this thing that you've done. And you know.
Yeah. I mean,
well, it's kind of a catch-22 too, right, Maria? Because you're like, you want to shoot something, but you don't want to blow your budget on a concept, you know? So you got, it's all the more reason to just show off your creativity and doing something that's like, all right, this person did this thing with, you know, this little proof of concept with no budget, and it has a vibe to it, and it's interesting, and however
what
long
I'm kind of
it is.
hearing here, and you know, please contradict me if I'm off. In general, because we are in the arts, it's basically however you get there. If it works, it works. Because I want to circle back to this later and just put the trailer versus shorts. What do you want in that initial presentation in presenting yourself? Which is better, the 30-second concept trailer, or maybe making a short that you want to make a feature, or as you alluded to, Maria, show them your body of shorter works that will eventually show that your potential as a feature director,
I think a general
filmmaker.
rule of thumb is if your project is all about effects, if your project is all about, robot or creating a fantastic world or whatever, and you have 30 seconds of that, which is, I think that was what you were describing, Phil, and Mark, you described that too. If it's an effects-driven or extremely visual concept, great. If it's a drama, please don't give me a teaser trailer on a drama, because it's all about the acting in a drama. I mean, I mean that's a short version. There are many other reasons not to give me a drama. But.
Okay. Yeah, and by the way, this is all incredibly valuable stuff. I picked up a coin term yesterday it's really what's going on here. This is all a lot of inside baseball, if you're familiar with that anecdote. This is stuff that, again, especially as a first-time filmmaker, we won't know these little nuances. Anything from less is more, most likely, for a teaser versus a trailer versus a short versus showing your body of work. These are kind of questions you can't necessarily go to school for directly, or who knows what's trending at the moment as far as, again, what your eyes want to see, all four of you and people in your positions. If we can we break it down in a kind of hierarchy in terms of, and forgive me, I just sort of threw Bible out there. And thank you, Maria, for showing the different versions of it. It's a pitch deck, it's a summary, it's whatever. It's your business plan, if you will. What can you name, and you obviously have different opinions on it, but we'll see if we can get a consensus. What is the hierarchy of what you want to see presented in front of you? You mentioned, it sounds like from what you said, Tom, I don't want to see a paragraph, synopsis. Also, what's in that stack? Is there a bunch of key art, a professionally done poster? We've ad nauseum, we've talked about having some kind of visual teaser trailer, letters of intent. Again, that spreadsheet with a legitimate budget that's been created by a legitimate line producer. What's the hierarchy, and what would you say is essential? And that'll make you turn the corner all but immediately, like, okay, this person's serious. and notwithstanding their good personality.
I was just going to say, he's got
But I
a
have
free
a free
webinar.
webinar on
what?
exactly this topic that I'll send you.
Put the link in the chat,
Oh,
Mark, by the way. And I was just going to say, let me say this. There's
Yeah, please do.
no exact formula. I can't say do this, that, and the other thing, because like
That's
Phil was talking about that
awesome.
one. I feel that's very rare, but yes, I had a sci-fi one that was really cool. But then one time somebody gave me a short from USC where he'd won the student Oscar, and there was probably 50 laurels on the poster. And it's like, I got to watch this short. I would have hired that guy to direct in a heartbeat, afterwards. So it's like, there's no exact thing. And I'll just say that I feel attachments, but real attachments of value, meaning cast or money, real. That's number one. Will always be number one. And but those other things, like a beautiful pitch deck, Movie Plan Pro is the one that I sell online. A beautiful pitch deck with an actual designed, professional look. It's not that I'm saying that's more important than other. I'm saying that's a prerequisite. Like, you can't get in front of somebody without something that looks professional to begin with. And if you're saying, like Phil said, well, sometimes too much money to make a short, well, then it's like, then maybe you're not experienced enough as a filmmaker to have done that aspect of your thing yet. You know what I mean? Like, so you're really not directed anything or something, so there's no exact formula, but professionalism, it always speaks, but I still think real value, names or money, is number one.
Yeah. No, I was just saying that, spending a lot of money on a teaser that you don't even have the actors on, that that it's kind of, you're throwing it away. And so like saying, it's that catch-22. If you're trying to put together a teaser, you want it to look good, you want it to have all these things, but you don't want to spend any money.
Great. Like, so many are not great.
That comes. I mean,
I think the question becomes, if you've got to spend a little money, as folks are saying, you've got to spend a little money on development. You got to be willing to pay a little money on development. So where should you spend that money? I'm interested to have a conversation. I think what I find is there's two places where it makes sense to me, or it has made sense in the past. One is the artist to do the presentation for you. And I'm talking about, you've already written the script, okay? You've already got a script. It might not be the final, but it's a viable script. It's a script that you're not ashamed to have somebody read. And your goal now is to get somebody to read that script. I don't deal with investors that don't read scripts, or at least I deal with the person that will read the script, because people who aren't interested in the script, I'm not interested in working with them, frankly. But if you've got a good looking presentation, I will want to read the script. So, and the other place that I think is if you can, as you were saying, Tom, I might want to bring in a casting director to see if I can get some attachments, because the fame factor will get attention. And so I'm thinking the artwork, but what do you guys think? If you got to put a little money out, or the line producer to do the breakdown, they're almost.
But look at it as it all. There's a lot of reasons to invest in yourself or in your project. Like, I'm trying to get a license on an anime that I saw, and I was like, I want to make that into a movie. And that was my own personal thing. So already paying somebody to design a conceptual poster out of my own pocket, you know what I mean? And then now business plans, I'm great at InDesign. And so I can make a business plan look like a magazine. I've been doing it for years. And so I use the same template that I sell, and I put the business plans together, right? But say we're going to shoot something, I'd probably fund that myself. It just depends on how far you want to go. But the bottom line is, because of experience, I know what looks professional, So it's like, even walking around on the AFM and stuff like that, see other people's pitch decks and their pitch packets. Like, there's been times where somebody's given me something, I'm like, oh, that's a good looking business, but or something. I'm like, doing that the next time. That's so you can get ideas where you'll see the ones that really hit for you, So, but professional looks is prerequisite. So, yeah,
absolutely.
So Cora asked, where do you get that money? The question isn't where do you get the money for development? The question is, how do you structure it in a way that's going to make it worthwhile for someone? Because you don't need a lot of money for development, even for a bigger project. You don't need an exorbitant amount of money. You just need to be able to cover some of the initial costs. And there's ways to structure that make it appealing for somebody to do. So again, it's more about like, how do you make that proposal as opposed to where do you get it? Which, Cora, I'm going to speak to you soon anyway, so I can go.
And I put the link in there for everybody else. That's my development course that I sell online, and that literally pieces down the breakdown, but not exactly where do you get it, but what should it be comprised of?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I'll interject, and again, please correct me if I'm wrong. At least I know there's at least one way. You need to change your mindset or mentality. It's like, all right, I have a $3 million, $17 million movie. All right, who's going to put in $17 million? I think you need to scale way back and go, you have to invest your own time and resources. Maybe that starts with having a completed script. Then you dip into your own network, and then you get that letter of intent from a director, or you find that producer. Then you start building. And then you can start, then you start tapping their networks, and eventually you build and you build that foundation. And then from there, then you can start approaching, just doors start opening up. Is that close?
Yeah. Or Fernando, start the other way. Start at zero. Right. I have zero. All right. I have a phone.
You're going to use it.
Right now, I'm going to shoot on this phone. I have my 2 4K cameras behind me. All right. I have my cameras. All right. What else do I need? I need actors. Let's see. Do I need to pay them? Well, not necessarily. Okay, so right now my budget is still 0. So I'm looking for, if anybody has like $20 for some sandwiches for one, like start at 0 and work your way up. Don't start at 3 million, and just be realistic. And, I don't know. I think I said it a lot here in the last 2 days, but I'm just like, don't think about, go ahead and think about it. Go ahead and plan for that $1 million thing and all the parts that it's going to take, and plan for it all you want, and get it tight. And like, Mark's like, have an idea of where it's going when have a business plan, and not just, we're going to submit to Sundance, we're going to submit to all the big festivals. That's not a plan. So, but while you're doing this $1 million production, just go shoot something. And I've said it for years. Like, what do you need a budget for? Like, what aspect of this thing do you need a budget for? Like, do you need to shoot it? I mean, do you need? I'll give you a card if you need a memory card. Like, it's like, I'll give you 2 memory cards so you can have a 2-camera shoot, and it's got the shotgun mics attached to the camera if you really need to, if you can't have a sound person, and drop it in, if you happen to have like an editing system, if you happen to have a computer, like, drop it in and edit and get some music and get some, like,
well,
what
the
part
equipment,
of that?
I mean, you got to have that,
like, nothing.
camera.
You get friends.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, Phil.
No,
but you're absolutely right. That's the right attitude. The right attitude is get, and he said it before, get out there and make stuff. But I think on the other side of it, I think we're the folks that are listening in, they've done that. We're gonna assume that people have done that. They have made stuff on their own, and now they're ready to go bigger, right? A mistake that I see, I don't see it quite as often anymore. Mm-hmm. But I still see it, is somebody comes in and they tell me they have a $5 million project, or they have a $15 million project, or they have a $3 million project. You have no idea what your budget on your project is until you have a script. Yeah. You don't know. If you've got some experience, you can have enough. You know enough to know that basically a one location that you can get for free is a lot cheaper than an international spy movie, right? Those kinds of things, you can get a general idea, but you don't know the budget until somebody's broken it down for you. And when they've done that, you're going to say, oh, I really didn't need those horses because they're more expensive than I thought. Yeah. Right.
Mark said it before, I think, was talking about the filmmaker that you say, what is the budget? And they go, 2 million. And then you'll follow up, you say, show me, can I see the top sheet? And they'll be like, no, I just figured it could be done for 2 million. Like, that is almost the door. Like, they almost just make up a number. But the key is, I'll say, and we got experienced producers on here. I've produced 16 films. I'm even wrong. Like, I'll look at scripts that I, given to me, and I'll go, we could do it for X amount of dollars, like 750,000. Then I'll give it to a line producer, and they'll be like, no way, can't do it for that. I remember there was a disaster movie that I wanted to see if we could do it for 250. In my mind, I thought it still could be done for 250. And I gave it to the line producer, and he said, Tom, the lowest I could say is like 600. So I was wrong. You know, so like what I'm getting that there, Fernando, the point I'm trying to make is that even experienced producers can't eyeball a script and are wrong many times on that. So if you just have a script and you're just eyeballing it and saying, we can do it for 3, where did that number come from? I mean, you know, it's.
Yeah, you got to break it down.
Yeah.
Hey, Tom. Hey, man, I'm shooting an international spy movie, and I need a guy for like 4 hours. And if I came by, you're right by your house. We're shooting right outside of your place.
You know, it's like those things work. That stuff happens, and that's totally doable. You know, like I said, for that disaster, it didn't work out. But I've done stuff for free, exactly what Phil's talking about, where, I mean, not features, but meaning we did some shorts for free in times in the past where we did it was like, who's got stuff? Who wants to play almost? You know, who wants to come out with their camera and have a big Yeah, everybody. You're right. A lot of people. Yeah.
But here's the other thing. Even once you break it down properly and figure out what the real budget is, you still need to talk to people like us and get a sense for what the proposed package is worth distribution wise.
Right. What will the market pay for that?
That's how savvy producers work, is we reverse engineer. So if we, break it down and the budget is $1 million, but then we do projections and our global take, meaning our low end, is 750,000, then an adjustment needs to be made.
Yep.
So there's more to it than just creating a budget.
Yeah, I think.
Well, yeah. I mean, I've always found it really hard to do. I feel like it's almost pie in the sky in a way. Really hard to do projections when I don't have a finished product
Phil,
I'm looking at. I'm looking at a script.
I have a Joe Pesci movie that I've been trying to make for several years now. I'm the only person on the planet who has Joe Pesci attached to a movie, and I can't get the damn thing made. But we originally had our budget at X. We took it to Berlin. We started pre-selling it, and the numbers that were coming in pre-sale, in terms of the pre-sale offers, were below what our projections were. So we had to go back to the drawing board and rework our budget to make it viable.
That's it.
Yeah, no, it's true. There's these two sets of numbers, right, that have to jive. There's your budget and your projections. And if your budget is, if you're saying, I'm so proud of myself, I can do this movie for $750,000, right? But if your sales, if it's going to be a straight to VOD, right, it's going to take you a long time to make $750,000 back without an upfront sale of any kind, with straight revenue share. And most of the films we distribute, it's that model. It's a straight to VOD release, and every once in a while we'll get a little money up front, but it's mostly revenue share. And it takes a long time. It'll come over time, right? Little by little. But if you've got somebody who's given you $250,000, you don't want to tell them, yes, I'll get it back to you within the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, perfect.
You have to make a
or make a Lifetime movie. But know what the Lifetime is looking for. Look at their blueprint. Look at what they're really doing, and don't just say,
Lifetime's a really good
lead,
example
so it's going to be on Lifetime.
You need to know what they're paying, because you can say, I got this perfect movie for Lifetime, $750,000. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I get people all the time that tell me what the networks are paying and what Netflix is going to pay, and I'm like, you have no idea what you're talking about.
I just sold the movie to Lifetime this year. I'm not going to say what the movie was, but it was 300. So that was it. Actually, I think it was
that's a good number.
Yeah. Oh, we were psyched.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's a good number.
That's great for a Lifetime movie. That's great.
Bingo.
That's great, but that means if you made it for 750, you're screwed.
You're screwed. Especially because did they take worldwide on it, Tom?
No, they didn't. No, they'd only pick US.
So you.
Well, yeah, worldwide.
Another whatever, 150, 200 for
but
they do.
Even if that's just domestic and they spent 750, they're still screwed, because there might be another 1 to 200 in foreign.
And I didn't expect that movie to sell. And we had gotten, it was a small film, and we'd gotten Redbox for 35 or 40, and then Lifetime. and I was shocked. And the movie itself, by the way, the filmmakers were still not happy, which is a funny side story I should share with you all. It was like they're still complaining. The movie was done for probably 100, and it's like they should be, whatever.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
and they're not happy. Oh,
and it's just one of those filmmakers that.
Well, I have a couple of films that, one of them is probably 10 years old, and one is getting there. One is getting, it's more than 5. It's probably, offhand, I don't know, 7, 8, but they sold to Lifetime, and they keep producing. So, they internationally and even domestically after the Lifetime contract expires. So Lifetime is no joke. And, and you could, I say you could recoup your money, just because, maybe not in the first 2 weeks, but they just keep selling, partly because they were on Lifetime and partly because you actually made something.
That's absolutely
Lifetime
true.
likes,
It's
what a lot of the planet is looking for.
To use that word, fungible, right? Lifetime movies, they're fungible.
Oh, right. In the current time.
But again, you got to get back to why are you doing it? If you like that genre, if you can have fun making that genre, that's perfect for you. If you're doing it just because, this money, I have people come to me with projects, and I know they're trying to be practical, right? They're saying, yes, I have this movie that's perfect for Lifetime. And I know that I can make it for this amount of money, and da 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 da. And I look at it and I go, and it's usually, I hate to say this, forgive me, all the people of the world, for offending you, but it's usually some white guy who's got this great Lifetime story.
What?
And I read the synopsis and I'm going, no. And it's like, why are you trying to make that movie? Oh, well, because I know that the market wants that movie. Don't go that way.
Yeah. No.
Although I know a white Jewish producer who makes a lot of money selling Black Christmas movies to be E.T.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
What? One guy told me he was making a faith-based movie because that's where the money was. And I go, are you religious? And he says, no. And I'm like, so he wasn't even, he not a Christian, not anything. And I was like, like that to me was like a little like, I didn't like that. I got, so I don't know. That's just my opinion. It's like that. I felt like that's a easy for money.
Hey,
you know what I mean? Like
if you don't have a concept that somebody wants to see.
Have you seen Malcolm and Marie?
There's no point in making a movie, right? You make it something that you love that has a market. I'm sure you can find that, because if you don't, then you're Van Gogh and you're going to be miserable, and then maybe you'll be recognized as a genius after you die. There's a market for, if there's a story you want to tell, you just got to find what that market is for it and focus on the things that will make it attractive to that market.
Yeah, well, you touched on it, Maria. We're in the art business. At the end of the day, ironically, we're talking more about commerce, but if it works, it works. You can be a Picasso and have 3 boobs and 9 eyes and, 20 legs. It may look horrific, but if it stirs that emotion in whatever viewer, then guess what? You've got something. You just can't help but smile.
A weird example.
It's like selling the tuna, but not the Charlie.
Yeah.
That was a callback yesterday. That was a callback.
That's right. See, I told you
thanks,
you were going to keep thinking about that comment long
head.
after our conversation.
Yeah. That's the title of my next movie, and I couldn't think of it. I was like, what did he say?
This will be all online later. We're almost at the about 20-minute left mark, so I want to open it up for the Q&As that people put out there. So this might be a little out of sequence in the sense that it touches on something we commented on, maybe 40 minutes ago, if not 5 minutes ago.
I want to make a quick comment.
And by the way, thank you.
Also, because we were talking about proofs of concepts and everything. For people with finished films, when it comes to creating a trailer and sending it out, go on YouTube and watch trailers for mainstream movies that are tonally similar to yours. Because we get these trailers sent to us that are like 2.5, 3 minutes long, and they have no real arc to them. And like the point I'll make is, if I can't get through your trailer, why would I want to watch your movie? You know, but like that happens. So, and Tom and Phil and Maria, they'll all attest, like we get the worst trailers sent to us that are like, they don't even make us want to watch the movies. Like, go online, find good trailers to good movies and emulate those.
Or honestly, yeah. I mean, even if it's a great trailer, if it's 3 minutes, it's like, I'm sorry, but I'm not.
If you send me a script that's 150 pages, I'm not reading it. I don't care how
be 3 minutes.
Amazing it might be. Like same thing with a trailer. You know, you send me a trailer and it's 3 minutes long. Like, sorry.
Okay.
And again, it's not because I'm not willing to invest 3 minutes. It's because I know my buyers won't.
That's right.
Business. Again, I'm going to open up for Q&A now, but I want to thank you, Phil, for kind of clarifying my comment from way back as far as, you know, me adding my 2 cents. You kind of put the finesse, because at the end of the day, it is a business. So, and the reference is, you know, where are we going to get the money? And I was saying, you know, build to a point where you start attracting the money towards you. It is a business. So the bottom line is leverage what you have. And in case you're being very specific to the point, I got a couple cameras, I got this X, Y, and Z, start there. And then let it, you know, almost magically grow if you've got the passion behind it. So with that, I have.
Yeah, yes, let the momentum carry you. Again, I'm just talking about maybe even it's a side project. Yeah. Don't let the momentum stop, and all of a sudden you're rolling in pre-prod, and all of a sudden, if you don't let the momentum stop, you're in production.
Well, that's a fabulous
once you're in production,
attitude
if you just keep that going,
it's really good attitude. So many people are waiting for somebody to give them something before they do anything. Yeah, just do it.
Just do it.
All right. That's a good line.
Yeah.
I've heard
Sold
that.
a lot of stickers with that one.
I'm gonna hold my tongue for a second.
All
right, I'm gonna go down the list. Because I've got my eye on like 3 or 4 things going on at the same time here. So I haven't fully vetted these questions. I'm just gonna kind of read them cold from top to bottom. The first one is, I keep hearing that pre-sales are dead from several different sales reps. How do we plan for a business investment without having secured sales?
There's a lot of mythology around pre-sales. I get people all the time who ask me to pre-sell their project, and their project isn't pre-saleable. So the answer is yes, pre-sales are tougher to come by now, because what you have to understand is when a distributor commits to pre-buying the distribution rights to a movie, they have to earmark those funds and set them aside. So, which means that money's is not working for them somewhere else. So if the movie falls apart, they not only have not been able to put that money to work for them, but they lose whatever legal costs and whatever else is involved. So because so many movies fall apart, distributors are very gun shy about committing to pre-sales, more so than ever now. But again, if you don't have a packaged project with like at least A- level cast, you're not going to pre-sell a project anyway. So, and I get that all the time. People with like $250,000 movies that ask me to pre-sell their movie. It's like, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah. I mean, just be realistic on what you're asking, and you know, a lot of times it just feels like BS to me. Like, all right, you're asking me to pre-sell a movie because you don't have the budget. So now you're asking me, who I don't really even know you. I mean, I've never worked with you. You're asking me to raise money with my buyers so I can finance your movie so that you can make it, and then hopefully you make it in a way that the buyers will like not kill me when it's done.
Pre-sales are driven by just a few things, by genre and script,
I'm sorry, but
by
that's
cast,
not me.
and by track record of the director.
Yeah,
that's pretty much all you can.
I was going to say,
or
relationships
producer with a big track record, but that's pretty much all you can pre-sell on. So there has to be verifiable value in the package to be able to pre-sell.
It's not for newer filmmakers. You know, that what I feel that it's hung around, the term pre-sales from the 80s and 90s, You know, it's Rennie Harlan has that story from going to AFM that's a famous story that he tells with a big Chuck Norris poster of a movie, an action movie, and he raised $8 million. And the joke about the story is that he never even met Chuck Norris. And so he went back and he got Chuck Norris, thank God, to do the movie, and that started his whole career. Those days don't happen anymore.
Stallone pre-sold the entire first Expendables, but like that's Stallone with all these other A-listers who are committed. You know, yeah, it's just right. Even a savvy producer can pre-sell maybe 50% of their movie, maybe, if they really know what they're doing. So it's just there's a lot of mythology, I think, surrounding the idea of pre-sales.
Okay, fantastic. And Maria, we were sort of talking, or you and Tom were sort of talking on top of each other. You had a great comment because I did catch it. You talked about personal relationships.
Me?
Yes, you. Tom was talking about what's important, and I caught that you said that how important about how important personal relationships are as a factor.
Oh yeah, well, it's like
negotiations.
I think everybody said it. And Phil expressed it really well. He said, "Look, I don't know you. I'm not gonna hang my kite, hang on your kite, because my reputation is on the line too here." And I mean, I have. Oh, ouch! We have. Agreed to help producers do some, and then we find out the same thing you've all said. They don't have the people they said they have. They don't really have the money they said they have. And it's like, yeah, even sometimes recently I've had the experience where somebody I knew recommended somebody else to somebody else, and it sounded like a financier was recommending this producer to me. And when I dug a little deeper, I found out, no. He got the financier's number, called the financier up. The financier saw that I was working on another project with somebody else that guy knew. And he said, why don't you call them? Mm-hmm. And it's like, yeah, no, you need to, it's the same thing. When I tell producers when they walk into a sales agent's office, anybody who wants to take the rights to their film at any stage of the game, I talk about the grease test, right? It's like the oily salesperson. If you get that vibe from anybody, walk. And you do not want to give off that vibe. And it is much better to be clear about what you don't, so that you can again leverage what you're good at, and create those personal relationships.
And I just saw that as an opportunity at the same time that to explain how and put it on the floor how important personal relationships are, how vital they are in terms of what you all do. That's again critical, actually, in my opinion. We've talked ad nauseum about that already. Let's see. I'm going down the questions. I'm going to make a couple calls here, Cora, on some of your questions. I'm going to skip over because I think we touched on them to a degree. Let's see. Look, again, I'm going to read this one kind of cold. In my experience, no one wants to be first in. Names won't sign without money. Investors won't give a penny until funds are in the door. How do we get past that to get the first money in the door? Yeah, this seems like, in my experience, it's the ultimate question, right? Where, it's the hustle. But if any of you want to field that one.
It's not a simple answer, but there are, let me put it this way. I mean, it's a layered question in terms of like, approaching money versus attaching components that are going to drive value. I know there's the whole thing about like, you can't get money without talent. You can't get talent without money. There are ways to get talent without money that will help, build an inherent value into your package. But yeah, that's true. A lot of investors don't want to be the first money in. But
Can you give an example of how to get an actor without money? Just it can be,
you can take my
made up, but just the frame of reference.
I mean, look, that's a much more in-depth discussion. Working with casting directors, incentivizing actors, doing your homework, and being able to like
very good
package things with an agency. There are ways to get talent interested, but again, you got to be reasonable about it. You're not going to go get Bruce Willis to read your script if you're a first-time filmmaker and you have no money, but there are ways to pursue and attract and potentially attach reasonably known talent to your project before you're funded. And that will at least add a somewhat of an investable value to your proposition. In terms of, first money, yeah, it's always tough, getting that seed money. That can trigger a lot of other things. But if you do proper development and build your project around a regional incentive and some ways to make your project more risk averse and securitized, that's going to make it more appealing to potential equity, meaning rich folks.
Yeah. I think, honestly, I think everybody in here has been really trying to answer your questions.
These are whole other
questions. But this is these are.
I agree.
Yeah, like Mark, layered. It's not even a panel. You're talking about a feature film. It's like, it's not like, you can't just have a phone conversation and say, okay, how do you, it's involved. It's time consuming. That's why I'm like, yeah. I don't have time. I'm sorry. I can't read the script. But it's more than that. That's just the start. It's so damn time consuming to talk about.
Don't be right, at best, I'm looking for a way to do it, and just a starting block or frame of reference for people to go. And if I could, really quick, we have a young filmmaker who's only 23 years old, and this kind of addresses at least one path.
All right,
23 years old, just graduated from NYU. And but he happened to know a casting agent, a really a veteran, seasoned casting agent. He was able to get Barry Bostwick, Bruce Davison, and Martin Kove, all three together in one film for a short. And there was a driving interest because he got via the casting director, he got the scripts to those particular named actors, and they bit, and they did it just because they wanted to do it. Barry and Bruce had been competing against each other their entire lives, and they were both NYU grads. I'm just saying that, so now they get to work together. So again, there are so many little nuances and intricate pieces. Again, my point of putting some of these questions out there, I know these can be multi-layered, Mark, but I'm trying to give a frame of reference for people to know that there is a way, and just start developing that mindset of thinking.
Unfortunately, these are the things that you're never going to learn in film school. These are things you learn through your own trial and error and whatnot. But Phil's right. There's just not black and white answers to these questions. They're much more, and because every project is unique, everything requires a brainstorm specific to the elements of each project.
That's true. But I think.
Okay. Maria.
Yeah.
No, I was going to say, we've been talking about, it takes a whole nother panel to do that. And so, there are books. There's tons and tons of books on this subject. These guys, I know both Tom and Mark do this. They do consulting. They give great information in their seminars. Read, educate yourself, take your camera, go out, shoot stuff. Know the vocabulary, know what the different jobs are for the different people on a production. Just do that background stuff before you start trying to get somebody to invest in you. It's really the thing that I think turns us all off the most is somebody walks in and they just want us to do their work.
Agreed.
Well, that kind of helps you in a way. You already know that's going to be a thumbs down.
And they know what they're talking about. Is another issue we get all the time. But yeah, no, my colleague Michelle got a friend called her and literally asked the question, Michelle, how do you produce a film? I thought that was really funny. And it's like, okay, can we stay on the phone for 10 hours and then we'll just scratch the surface? So there's never quite easy answers, but the key is experience and learning, and like Phil's been saying from the start, doing stuff, jumping in that pool, making movies, making stuff happen. You learn more and more every time. The more you do, be a PA, you know what I mean? Go be a PA on set, see how that's, so like when I started my career, and this was, Phil had referenced, acting used to be a thing, and it's not really a focus anymore, but it's like, I took extra work just to be on set, I didn't want to get on camera at all. I took extra work to see how the stars acted, how the makeup person, I just paid attention to everything. And they'd ask, who wants to be in this? And I'd be like, just stay in the back. I'm like, I want to be doing lines with these people. That sounded horrible. I want to be doing verbal lines in the movie with these people. And so, it was like, so meaning do things like that as a filmmaker, be a PA, volunteer to help a friend, it's like, hey, I'd love to be on your shoot. Things like that.
And we're
absolutely, Tom. I'll testify. I've been on a bunch of other sets. Bragging a little bit. I mean, I was on the Black Panther set, or locally they shot a lot of the House of Cards over here, and I loved seeing little nuances, relationships between the directors and the DPs. They were having the same arguments I would have on set, or I've seen on other sets. Just whether it's timing or blocking, so on and so forth. Mark, go ahead and make your comment. Then I have one more question.
I was just going to say, and we're not saying that people need to walk in and have all the answers to the questions. Not everybody needs to walk in and be like, this seasoned pro. You just have to know what you don't know and surround yourself with good, seasoned people.
Awesome. That's great advice. Final question.
Yeah.
If I finished the film and couldn't find funding, is there a market or platform that's recommended to search for finishing funds? I've tried funding for women specifically.
Somebody looking for finishing funds?
She's finished her film.
Is that what she means?
And she's looking for
post or whatever. Yeah.
Yes, it's in the can. It's absolutely in the can, because I know that this is. So the question, is there a market or platform that's recommended to search for finishing funds? I guess I'm not sure what she means by finishing funds, and maybe in terms of the
go to the film markets, meet people like us. I know that we'll provide finishing funds, and there's a bunch more companies that provide if the movie's good and if it makes sense. Okay, gap finance the rest of it. But if they're looking for a platform, like go to www.xyz.com. I don't know if that exists per se. I would just say go to one of the film markets and talk to people like us.
Yes, send us the. I mean, if you have it finished, hopefully you have a rough cut, and send us the rough cut, and take it from there. If any of us see that there's,
as Cora said in the comments here, this is a film market, and I think you just knocked the question out of the park. It goes back into what we said before. All of it, really, just having the personal relationships, go to events like this, meet people like you, and due diligence. Again, we are right at the end of the clock here. So thank you everybody for making the time. Very much so on the panel, very much so for people in the audience. Again, this is being recorded, so we will blast this out onto the interwebs so people will be able to take advantage of all your golden knowledge. But I'd like to allow just an extra little bit of time if you have any closing comments. Specifically, it could be on anything, but the theme has been film financing. Otherwise, we'll just go ahead and wrap up. But does anybody have any closing comments on any and everything we've already discussed, even really to close the market?
Make movies,
and bring them to us.
Yes.
There you go.
Okay, with those inspiring.
Have fun.
What's that?
Yes. Yeah. Is that
what you're supposed to do? Oh.
You're not making light bulbs. You're making movies.
And we're not saving lives either. Yeah, exactly. We're just.
Oh, good point. Good point. I love that balance. Because as you can imagine, I on this end, dealing with on the festival side, we get a lot of people take their films very seriously, which you love the passion, but then at the same time, being a little extra.
I'll give you a real quick piece of advice. Think of every project you do as a stepping stone to something else. People who are going to make a career out of it and people are going to find longevity are people who are looking at everything as a stepping stone, not their one thing that's right in front of them as the end all be all.
That's good.
Great.
So as Shakespeare might even say, past is prologue.
Yeah. And we're not the end all. We're hopefully, I mean, not hopefully, we're all learning. I mean, if we're not learning, we're bored to death. So everybody in here is learning, and it's just so it's a matter of how you learn, and go have fun on the shoot. It's like I've seen the shoots be so tense. It's like, lighten up, people. Like, come on.
Beautiful.
Like, how do you think the actors are supposed to act if the director's having a fit all the time? It's like, lighten up, have some fun.
Yep, that's exactly why you all are here. I'm not looking. We're not looking for perfection, but you guys are in the trenches. You're scarred and dirtied up, and you know what to look for and what's working, what's not working right now. Except for Maria. Maria is always pristine and just glowing. 100, 360. Come on, I got to make it more colorful than thank you. Goodbye.
Talk to anybody, but.
Whatever takes the attention away.
You and Mark. I see why you and Mark get along so great. Okay. Take care, everybody. Break a leg with all your projects. Congratulations on Tom and all you're doing. Thank you so much.
See you guys.
Yes, and I'm going to send your information to everybody who asks, who wants to know, and be successful and achieve. So thank you very much for not only being here, but contributing to other people's success. That's my thrill in all of this. So thank you very much. Cheers, please take care and have a great rest of your weekend, everybody. Thank you.